All right. Thank you so much, Andrea. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second Students of Welcome webinar. If you're new to us, I'm Tanner. I'm an intern here at the Forum, and I'm involved in Students of Welcome in Ohio at Kent State University. And Students of Welcome is a student movement that's changing the conversation on immigration. And you can get involved on your campus in the movement from anything as small as hosting an on-campus event like a conversation in a classroom, all the way up to starting a chapter at your school, hosting multiple events, and joining other student leaders on national campaigns. You can join this movement by a link to get in contact to us that is in the chat right now. And there's three levels you can get involved in, and we're just all here to help you in any way you want to get involved in immigration on your campus. And today we have two very special guests. First is our guest interviewer, Lily Bodecker, who's a Grove City student and a former intern at Welcoming Alliance for Refugee Ministry in Pennsylvania, Grove City. And she's involved in Students of Welcome out of Pennsylvania. And we also have Eileen Wilson, who's here at the forum and also the founder and executive director of Yamana, which is a nonprofit operating out of Cleveland for refugees. So for those watching, please also drop some questions in the chat, which we'll get to at the end, and we'll try to address as many as we can or all of them. So without further ado, I'll start by introducing our guest interviewer, Lily. Thank you so much for being here, Lily.
Thank you.
So Lily, thanks for being our guest interviewer. I know you're a student at Grove City. Could you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name is Lily Bodecker, and I'm a senior at Grove City College. I'm studying human resources management. And yeah, I've gotten involved with some refugee and immigration work through 2 summers ago, going on a missions trip to Indonesia. And then this past summer, working with a refugee organization in Worcester, Mass.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So, Lily, I know you and Eileen are kind of similar in your backgrounds of starting with business and then getting into refugee and ministry. Can you kind of describe the moment or experiences that you've had that sparked your interest in working with refugees and immigrants?
Absolutely. So 2 summers ago, I was kind of looking for just an experience during the summer to figure out what I saw business going into, kind of what I wanted to do after school. So I had the opportunity to do a missions trip with Converge to Indonesia and serve alongside missionaries there. And it was just a really special experience, getting to do some work with some locals there. And after that, I came home and we had a speaker come to our church and talk about the refugee population in Boston, Massachusetts. And I had no idea really that they were around and that the population was so large. And so ever since then, I've just been interested in seeing what does it look like to serve the nations here in America. So I would say that missions trip kind of sparked it all for me. And that was just a really exciting turning point to see how does business and missions go hand in hand.
That's awesome. And kind of going off of that, going out abroad and helping people in different countries, but then coming back home, what did that experience give you, and what perspectives changed for you on immigration and refugees from going out to a country that you weren't familiar with and then coming back and seeing those same people that weren't familiar with the country that you live in? And how do you think we can help those people given your experience that you've had?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Going to Indonesia was definitely a leap of faith. So I was nervous, I was scared to leave everything that I knew. So being there and all my comforts stripped away, it definitely made me rely so fully on the Lord, but also the people around me. And so my language teacher there in Indonesia was just really sweet. And she taught me the language and the culture and just answered all the questions I had and really came alongside, and we developed a really special friendship. So that was just really important. And so having people around to be there for me, it really just made me aware of God's word and how he talks about his heart for the nations. And so with that, being attentive to his work and what he's doing across all the countries. But it was really just such a joy to serve alongside his people and be a part of his mission, that all tribes and languages and nations would come to know him one day. So coming back, the idea was, God, how can I be, who my language teacher was to me, how can I be that for someone here who is also adjusting to a new culture, things that are unfamiliar, a language that they don't know, trying to really learn how to live life well and provide for their family. So that's kind of how that changed for me, my perspective of coming back and just really wanting to really it gave me compassion. And so yeah, having that um, for my own experience then kind of just gave me the heart to do the same for someone else here.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you kind of got a little taste of what people coming and immigrating to America feel like when they're learning English and trying to uh, get assimilated. So, kind of working with language on you trying to learn yourself and then teaching others. What do you think was both hard for you, and then what is hard for people coming here trying to learn language, but then also just exploring a new place that they're going to have to live in for the rest of their life? Like, what do you think that's like for them, and how do you think that you and then also other students can help those people?
Mm. Yeah, that's good. It's definitely scary, not knowing exactly how to respond or operate. So I think just knowing that you have people to turn to help you with that, to be a friend and to be an advocate for you is really important and necessary. So I think um, our role in that is being people that welcome others in with open hearts and minds, ready and willing to serve and do the small tasks from, helping them translate mail and letting them know, what to throw out and what they need to sign and send back, and taking them on apartment tours and just really doing the daily life, teaching transport how to use transportation and things like that. So I think yeah, I definitely felt I never taught English before, but obviously, if you speak it and you know it, like you know how to communicate, so you can do that. That would be like my biggest encouragement of just trusting that and really just being their friend and walking them through that is really important. So I would say that's how you can be a part is whatever your skills are, whether that be business or whatever. It's just really special to um, go to that person and with humility and offer your skills for their benefit.
That's awesome. And then with you and your experience, looking back, what do you think surprised you most about yourself, kind of with your journey of starting off in business and in college to then becoming a student who advocates for refugees and gets involved in internships like that?
I think what surprised me was um, honestly, just the reality of how we need to be connected to the source of life and love, that being God, to then be a source of life and love to others, and just realizing, that God has chosen us to be a part of His mission and how special that is, to really, yeah, to be involved, and to see His heart through that. So I think that's what I would say surprised me, as well as just scripture talks about the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So pray for laborers. So I think that has been something really on my heart of just of giving God your yes, of here I am, Lord, use me, send me for your will and your glory. So I think that's been such a joy and an honor and not what I expected maybe my last few years to look like, but just so thankful that the Lord has shown me and revealed more of his heart to me through those experiences, and then wanting to share and tell people about that through the way that I serve and love those around me.
And that's awesome. And For that, how do you hope to continue your work with us in the future, and do you see it becoming your long-term vocation?
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to just continue to be an advocate for the Lord's heart for the nations. And so I really see that through um, offering the skills that I'm learning in school right now to then serve others. So I would love to continue in this work, and I think whether that be teaching English or helping with resumes and job searching for refugees and immigrants, that would be really special. And so I'm very new to Students of Welcome, but I'm excited to learn more. And I think it's important that we do have these informed, truthful conversations because you can have the passion for this kind of work, but the knowledge is also necessary to make sure that you're serving in such a way that goes according to the law. So yeah, I think that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to see how the Lord will continue to use my current experiences for what He has for me down the road.
Awesome. And for students that kind of see what your story and see what you've done and are interested but aren't quite sure what to do, what do you think your advice would be to other students who think, yeah, I mean, I could get involved in advocating for refugees or helping immigrants out in my community? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of ESL teaching opportunities, so English second language. That would be one way to get involved, volunteer to teach English, and that sounds scary sometimes, but it really is just learning to have conversations and walk someone through the process of learning the language. I would say another way for college students would be get involved with the international students as they're coming to school in America, as they adjust to the culture. And we know that college is a big adjustment for anyone. So, really reaching out to those students and being their friend. And then lastly, students of welcome. I'm excited to be involved myself, and we've started talking about what would that look like to potentially bring to Grove City campus. So I'm looking forward to kind of taking those next steps of potentially starting something at Grove City. But those would be a couple ways I would suggest getting involved.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lily. And now we have Eileen Wilson as well, who I think has a similar background in business and then going over to helping refugees as you. And I'm going to let you take it away because Lily is our guest interviewer and she'll be interviewing Eileen for this next part. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm excited to now get the chance to interview Eileen Wilson. Thank you, Eileen, for being on with us today. So, my I would love to tell you about a little bit of Eileen's backstory. And so she has a background in business, having worked in corporate America for almost 30 years within multiple Fortune 500 companies. She happens to be a child of immigrants, and this led to for her to take her first step in working with the refugee and immigrant community in Cleveland, Ohio, by teaching English to speakers of other languages. So throughout this journey, she was led into working as the director of refugee ministries for a local nonprofit, where she worked as uh, an accredited representative through the Department of Justice to legally represent people for immigration matters. As well, Eileen also founded the Hope Center for Refugee and Immigrants, a community center in Cleveland, Ohio, that seeks to welcome the nations at our doorstep. And more recently, Eileen has opened her own nonprofit called Yamana, whose mission statement is to glorify God through equipping of refugees and immigrant families to move from surviving to thriving. In addition, she serves as being a mobilizer for the National Immigration Forum in Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. So, hello, Eileen, and thank you for being on with us today.
Hi, Lily. Thank you so much, and Tanner, for having me on. It's a pleasure to hear your story, Lily. For somebody so young, you have already been bitten by what I call the refugee bug. So you've already begun to explore things. And I know it sounds like there's complicated journeys through this, but I think you and I both know that it's really just taking one step at a time and following what God's plan is for your life.
Absolutely, yes. So with that, kind of in similar regard to what Tanner asked me, but I'm interested to hear. So you spent nearly 30 years in corporate America before stepping into refugee ministry. So can you tell us what first stirred your heart to take that leap, and how did that first step of faith look in real life for you?
Yes, that's a really interesting story. I didn't know where I was going to end up. One day at my church, I decided that I was going to go on a short-term mission trip to Burkina Faso in Africa. And to do that, through the church, we had to learn how to teach English as a second language. Took the class, decided, okay, great, this is going to be a great trip. I went there, and teaching English to people began to just grow in my heart as a way to connect to people, a common language, a common need to build relationships. So my heart really was stirred as I spent that time in Africa and met the people and began to really understand that the world is so much larger than we see from our neighborhoods or our doorsteps, that God's love for the world is huge. As I came back, I was still working in corporate America. But as time went on, I realized that my calling really was going to be to work with refugees. Now, I didn't understand what a refugee was at the point. Actually, one day as I was teaching English, somebody invited me to teach English as a volunteer for the local nonprofit. I went there, taught a couple of classes, thought this is great. And then I really began to meet the people and understand that this was something I'd never seen. I had met immigrants in the United States, but I'd never met or understood the subculture of the refugee community in Cleveland. As time went on, I began to ask myself the questions, well, how did people come here and how do they stay here? And what is their journey like? You know, God really began to open my eyes and my heart for everything that I was seeing. And eventually, I was able to move into working with nonprofits and to work with the refugee community.
That's really special. Thank you for sharing that. I was thinking about how we both kind of started with teaching ESL a little bit. So can you tell me why, kind of expand on why do you think ESL teaching is such a powerful entry point for building relationships with newcomers?
Yes, ESL is many times we just think about, oh, well, that's good. Somebody knows the language, that's a good thing. But for people who are coming, English, especially American English, is the language of commerce. Most of the time, if you meet somebody who knows multiple languages, one of them is going to be English. And so it is a communication base. What I realized was that learning and understanding the cultural significance of the English language not only helped people to communicate, it also helped them to be better parents. It helped them to understand how to work with their children's school, how to go to a grocery store and order something, how to solve problems, and really mostly to keep the power in the family with the parents. It's really important that a parent be the one who can make decisions in the family, and helping somebody learn the language is really strengthening the family unit.
Hmm. That's really good insight. Yeah, I agree with that. So what kind of changed your perspective as beginning to work with refugees? What changed your perspective during that first experience, into kind of what you're doing now?
Great question. So, as I started to work with the refugee population, I spent the first 4 years really trying to understand what was life like on a day-to-day basis as people came into the community. How did they interact? How were they able to drive? How were they able to get to where they needed to go? And during that time, I was looking for what was the gap that the organization I was working for, what was the gap that we could fill? Something that hadn't already existed in the city and would be useful for the refugee population. That ended up being the Hope Center for Refugees and Immigrants. Now, the Hope Center still runs, it's in Cleveland, Ohio, and it is a community center that allows people to come and to not only learn the language, it also has an immigration firm that allows them to have low cost immigration help in Cleveland. But it also served as a place where people who were born in America and people who were not could meet and get to know each other on a neutral ground. I found that a lot of the maybe difficulties or uncomfortableness that people felt was really about environment. It was about differences. If we could come to a common place and begin to talk to each other and understand each other, we could begin to build relationship that was lasting and deep and was on common ground. And so the Hope Center really acts as a place that somebody who is not from the area and not from the United States originally can come and feel comfortable as if they belong. And many times when people come to a city who might have an accent or might not be there very long, they don't find many places where they feel like they belong. The Hope Center was meant to have people feel like this is where I belong.
Yeah, that's a wonderful experience to see and understand and begin to learn, as often we live in a culture that desires to be comfortable. So often we don't get much of a chance to step outside of that. So it's really special to do so and to yeah, understand maybe what they're going through. So with that experience, can you talk about how it led you to open your own nonprofit and maybe what a day in the life looks like at Yamana?
Yes, so Yamana was really built on the idea that when people come, for the first year, it's really about surviving. It's about being able to get a job, to be self-sufficient, to understand the language well enough. It really was to hit a certain point. After 5 years, people would come, they would be stabilized. Life was good, but they were really just surviving. They were not what I like to call through Yamana thriving. There were dreams that they still had. There were hopes that they wanted to be fulfilled that they weren't met because of what happened in their lives. And many times refugees are forced out of their home into refugee camps or into difficult situations, and they give up everything. When somebody comes, they have to start their life over. And as time goes on, they are able to feel like, okay, I'm surviving, we're doing well. But then I've realized they began to think about, maybe there's more. Maybe there's things I wanted to do. I've met people who were journalists, who were artists, who had their own businesses, who had PhDs, people who had all of these skills and all of this dreams and hopes and desires within them, but no way to really unlock them. Yamana seeks to help people who are ready to move forward take that next step. A day in the life of Yamana looks like meeting with somebody who calls me and says, I'm ready to move forward. We sit down, we do what I call refugee life coaching, which is a way of asking, what are you ready to do? What is that thing that you wanted to accomplish that you're really not started yet? How would you like to do that? So it's really working with the person and walking alongside them as an ally. How can we do this together? I'm not going to do it for you, but I am going to do it with you. So most recently, just today, I met with one of my clients, and he has been working on opening a business for about a year and a half. He has many physical disabilities, but his brain is incredibly sharp. And he has had the desire to be able to open a business and never gave up. It can be difficult because of language skills, because of a lot of difficulties for him to be able to take that forward. Well, we are met today because we are going to be working on him actually opening that business next week and being able to take that step. Being able to be with people as they see their dreams fulfilled and to understand that they did it, they made the choices, they moved forward. I think that's what it really means to be a friend, to be a guide, and to invest in people who are part of our community. This is best for not just the family, it's best for the city, it's best for the state, and it's best for the country.
Absolutely. That's such a wonderful story. And I think that as we kind of hear those stories, you can sense that you've walked with so many families through both the heartbreak and hope as well. So through that, what's it taught you personally about God's heart?
I have come to understand that when we think of God, we often think about God being like us. Whatever we look like, whatever we talk like, we always think that God is like us. What this has taught me is that God is like all of everybody. It's like he is like every person I work with. In fact, they are made in the image of God. And that means that when we see you talked earlier about the nations, about every tribe and tongue and people group, when we see that, it means that God has a plan and a purpose, not just for me, but for every person that I'm working with. That helps me understand at a much higher level that this is one story, that we are all part of one story. And as refugees and immigrants and native born and sojourners, people just coming and passing through, we are all part of one story. And we are called to love our neighbor, love the person next to us, whether or not they can maybe have the same ideas or the same culture. It's really a joy and a blessing to be able to meet somebody and to see God resonate in somebody else's story.
It's so true. It's really beautiful what other cultures highlight the different characteristics of God, and it's really beautiful. So, with that, with God working through that reality of bringing the nations to our doorstep, how do you think Christians should and can respond with open eyes and hearts?
Uh, that really is something that I have been thinking through as we have watched a lot of changes happen in the last year. I have been through 4 administrations working with immigration. So I have been in this about 15 years. And what I would want most for people to understand and the church's heart to be is that people who are here, they are lonely, they are isolated, they don't have connection, they don't understand that the person next to them, they don't know how they feel about them. I think what I would say to the churches is love your neighbor as yourself. Truly see the person next to you as valuable because they exist. Valuable because they are your neighbor who helps you. They are somebody who's in your city. They are somebody who's in school with your children. They are somebody who helps you at Starbucks. That we are all together in this, and that the church, particularly, see people as valuable because they are made in the image of God. And there is ministry to do for people to feel like they belong. There are many ways we can do that. We can do English as a second language, as you mentioned. We can invite somebody to church, invite them to a small group, invite them to be part of a dinner at your house. Many different ways that the church can reach out to the people in their neighborhood and just show them they are loved and welcomed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think sharing a meal with someone is so important. And that's just, yeah, it's really special to be able to do something like that and lots of opportunities in that way. So, with that, with opening hearts and minds to this idea, can you tell us a little bit about why? Why is immigration reform so important for the long-term stability of the people coming to America.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of change happening in immigration, but immigration reform is separate from what we're seeing happen now. And why it's so important is that the people that I work with, in order for them to have a stable life, they need to understand what tomorrow will look like. They need to understand what life with for their children will look like. I had a woman yesterday who has is working through her immigration issues, and she asked me a question that I thought, this is a really good question. She herself is not from the United States. She is on one of the statuses that may or may not be ending. We're unsure. But she had a baby while she was here. And she asked me, the baby is 2 months old, and she asked me, am I going to be able to take my baby home with me if something happens? And that is a really hard question for somebody in the United States to think about. Of course, your child can go with you. And I wanted her to feel like she was welcome, that she was able to stay. But the answer is we really don't know. These are questions we have to ask. And so immigration reform would allow people to be able to say, okay, I can stay for this long. It gives people a way to come and know when they can work, to know when they can leave, when they can come back, when I can visit my family, how I can be able to be part of the community and not feel like other. So immigration reform, the last large reform we had was decades ago. And currently, there is a bill that called the Dignity Act that is currently in Congress that is a way for us to begin the conversation. I highly recommend to people to just take a look and think about what would life be like if we were not able to get up in the morning and know that our job was going to be there, our house was going to be there, our family was going to be there, that there could be a point where in the near future, maybe everything will change, maybe it won't. That causes so much stress, even in people who are here and have citizenship. I'm still seeing the stress of thinking, they are asking me, should I go to my job? Should I go to school? Is it going to be a problem? Am I welcome? Am I safe? And I think that we as a country and we as a people would want that people not have to ask those questions, and that we had a law in place that protected the people of the country. So I think that is why it's so key that the conversation come to the middle and include compromise, and that we decide what do we want from an immigration perspective in 2025.
Absolutely. Those are really important things to consider. And so, with that, for those listening, what are a few simple ways we all can start? First of all, getting information that's accurate, but also getting involved and making a difference in this reform.
Yes, that is the key question. What can I do? And people often ask me that, well, what can I do? You know, it doesn't feel like I can do anything. One of the reasons that I came on board the National Immigration Forum as the mobilizer for Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania is so that I could use what I knew, I could use the connections I had to be able to make a difference in this journey. Every person has a voice. Every person can stand up for the person next to them. That can look like befriending them. It can be look like them walking people through getting their driver's license, as simple as that. Being able to learn how to drive a car, it can be part of the ESL ministries. It can be part of a food pantry as we see changes to some benefits in the United States. will cause some issues with food. It can be being a neighbor and just helping your neighbor out. It's as simple as that. It can also be advocacy, being willing to jump onto a phone campaign or a letter writing campaign, or to be part of a district meeting with your representative. Use your voice. You have two very important tools in the United States, your vote and your voice. And your voice is more important than I think we really give it credit for. Our representatives, and I've been in many district meetings now, our representatives want to hear from us. They want to hear what we care about. They want to know how we feel. And I think I would encourage everybody to try to be part of that voice. Now, if that's too much, some people think, I'm not quite ready to do that. There are many easy ways to ease yourself in. Be part of a book club. Look up local organizations in your city and see what kind of volunteering they need. What kind of help are newly arriving people still looking for? Just something simple. Be kind and smile to the person that may not look like you or may not speak like you, and let them know that they are welcome. It's as simple as that.
Mhm. That's great insight and wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing. And I hope you all are encouraged by Eileen and her insight. I think that's really beautiful, you talking about just the different roles that we all have and the skills that we bring to the table and really leaning into what that body of Christ looks like. So thank you so much, Eileen. We really appreciate all that you shared with us. And so I would love to now turn our time back over to Tanner for just a brief time of Q&A.
All right, thanks, Lily. So we got a couple Q&A questions here, and just for anybody that was interested as well, mentioned a nonprofit that she is the executive director and founder of called Yamana. I put the link to that in the chat as well. So let's jump into the Q&A. And first, we got a question for Lily. Lily, what excites you about Students of Welcome?
Thank you for that question. I'm excited because, like I mentioned, just the knowledge aspect, just talking about learning what it means to be an advocate and know what's going on, to be informed, to speak with accurate knowledge is important to me. So I think having the experiences of refugee and immigration work to now really wanting to be focused with pairing that with the knowledge aspect to just really lean into that. So I think that's what excites me. And also, I'm excited about what that could potentially look like at Grove City on the campus to start that there.
Great, thank you so much. Looks like we got two more. The next one's going to be for Eileen. Eileen, how do you see this last year as different regarding immigration?
A lot of the changes that we saw this year, we've seen repeated really through other years, but we're seeing it more now. The use of executive orders to change immigration have destabilized the communities in many ways that we haven't seen. Of particular concern is the changes we are seeing to the food stamps because the families are still stabilizing. I think this year, especially going into the winter, going into a difficult time of year for people to be able to care for their families. I think this year we are seeing problems that we have seen every year, but this year they are raised. They are a little bit stronger, a little bit more, and affect more people. So I think that it makes it a little bit different.
Awesome, thank you so much. And another one for you coming in is how can people find organizations that are involved with this kind of work in their community?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The way that you can find an organization that is working with the refugee and immigrant population is to simply Google the word refugee. You will be surprised at how many organizations are helping in some way. Many times, a resettlement agency in your area will be helping. Resettlement agency are people and organizations who bring people into the United States through the government and through a program that was set up through the 1980 Refugee Act. So many areas have refugees that live there. I would reach out to one of those organizations and say, how can I help? What's going on? I would also look at ESL, any kind of classes that are happening. They can always use volunteers. You can be a conversation partner to somebody who's just trying to practice their English. You can be part of a food pantry. Google food pantry. They can use volunteers delivering food, getting people to food. There are many simple ways that already exist in our community, and they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for more help. So I would start there and let the journey take you step by step, like it did for myself and for Lily.
Thank you so much, Eileen. And then it looks like one last question for both of you guys is, was there a moment in your journey that, or an interaction that you've had with a person that made you think afterwards, I'm really glad to be doing this?
I'll go first, Lily, and then I'll let you finish it up. I would say that during the fall of Kabul in August of 2021, I had many Afghan families I was working with at the Hope Center. And as we watched it fall on TV, many of the families I was working with had people still in Afghanistan. They had family members who couldn't get out. They had people trying to get to the airport. They had family members that were working with the US military. We were able to mobilize volunteers and families to do humanitarian parole to help the families be able to fill out the applications, to get through the paperwork, to raise the money, to be able to bring their families or move their families. I think that being able to mobilize so quickly and seeing the impact that it had on the families, to know that their family members had been able to move to a safe place. I think that that's something I'll forever be grateful to have been part of, because I got to see the best of humanity. I got to see everybody working together for a common good. No, regardless of how they felt about the situation, they helped the person in front of them, and I think that was very powerful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eileen. I'll turn it over to Lily for the same question.
Yeah, it's a good question. As I was thinking about it, just made me smile because it's been really special to have so many personal interactions with people around, both in Indonesia and then also in Massachusetts this past summer. But particular memory that comes to mind is from working with the Welcoming Alliance for Refugee Ministry this past summer. And I had the opportunity to help coach a 6 week long volleyball program for teen girls. And it was just really special because the relationship that we built together was just so wonderful. And so, really getting to encourage these girls in a way that they maybe never have been before, to uplift them with my words, but then to also just encourage them that sports are just an awesome way to use the body that the Lord has given us, and realizing that if they were back in their home country, they probably most likely would not be going to school, as well as wouldn't be playing sports. So I think that was just a special moment. And our last week, we had a party at the end, and all the girls wanted to bring different foods from their home countries. And it was just so special to be there in community with them, really just feeling, getting to love on them and feeling so loved and welcomed in return. And just building a lot of friendships that felt like sisters, and I miss them a lot. But it was just so sweet leaving, and how they were so kind to uplift me and give me encouragement and just say that, we're going to miss you and want you to come back. And so I think just the relationships have been really special and really impactful. And I've learned a lot from them, and the way that they are so hospitable and loving. And so I've just really enjoyed learning about all the cultures and trying the different foods, and hearing the different languages, and just the incredible joy that those girls brought each week was really special. So I think that is definitely a moment that sticks out of thank you, Lord, for bringing me here, and letting me, see a glimpse of what you desire heaven to look like. So
All right, thank you so much for that, Louis. And that looks like all of the questions we had for today. So thank you so much both to Lily and Eileen for joining us on this seminar. Um, Again, if you have any questions specifically, I'll also put mine and Eileen's emails in the chat. And for anybody who's wanting to get involved on their campus with starting a compassionate conversation around immigration, the link to the chat to get involved with us is in the chat as well, or it's forumtogether.org/landing page/students of welcome, as well as Eileen's nonprofit Yamana, or yamana.org. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us, including our two speakers and guest interviewers. And we hope to see you next time. We'll have another webinar next month. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.